This
They
is what's
can't. Like,
painful.
if I was the CEO at Warner Bros, I'll just tell them, make the game. Just make it.
Well,
Look, take Wonder Woman, take out the skin Shadow of War, and put a Wonder Woman skin on it. Basically, what I see, change the enemies. Instead of orcs, you have the what's called again? The army, the Themysciran army.
yeah.
You have like, just take the skin out and replace it, put a Wonder Woman skin on it, bro. Literally that. Instead of the ring to control the orcs, you've got the lasso of truth. You put it on them, and you can dominate their mind and stuff. Like, it's literally there. The formula is there from what I can tell. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like video game managers, those who actually run the company, they don't play games, bro. Like, I don't think they play games.
That's 1000% true. They don't know they don't know the lore of the character.
That's what Jason said in the article, though. If I can pull from it, so the person who was head of WB Games, the colleagues described him as a polished executive who does not appear to spend much time playing video games himself. Something subordinates occasionally found challenging as they tried to talk through the nuances of product decisions. Staff also griped that it could also take months to receive answers to their questions, matters big and small, ranging from studio's next game or to whether they would participate in the annual E3 trade conference. And this is what pisses me off, right? Why, if you are the head of a video game company, how are you not involved in the process of making video games? Like, video games are a business. We can't discount that, right? It's all about making money at the end of the day.
Making money, yeah.
But
for them, it's a business. For us, it's not.
For sure. But there is, and I've never said this about any other CEO or any other video game, how people run. But the three of us sat here could have ran this better than him. And I genuinely mean that. Like, we could have, anyone with any passing interest in comic book video games could have done a better job than the shit show that he's just produced. How are companies waiting months to find out what the next game is going to be? You are sat on what I would argue are two of the three biggest superheroes in the world in Superman and Batman, and then I would say the third is Spider-Man, right? You are sat on two of them. You've got Wonder Woman, you've got the Flash, you've got Green Lantern, you've got the Teen Titans, you've got Robin, you've got Cyborg, you've got Martian Manhunter, and you are doing nothing with them. You are doing zilch with them. And it winds me up because not only that, and I'm just talking from a DC, you've got Game of Thrones. They've got
Game of Thrones as well.
They've got one of the biggest TV series and obviously the books first, but like they became huge from the TV.
On the TV series, yeah.
And you have not even made a big AAA Game of Thrones game. And I guess to kind of cap off the Jason article, let me just quickly read through the WB Games Montreal part, and then that helps to just talk about DC in general. So this bit's quite chunky, but after Gotham Knights, which Jason confirmed was originally a live service title, Gotham Knights, they wanted to make a 1.5 version, which was basically going to be a sequel that fixed the predecessor's flaws. The bosses nixed the idea, according to people familiar, and instead assigned a bulk of staff to help out with other projects across Warner Bros. In the months that followed, they pitched a game based on John Constantine. Then, when asked for budget and approvals, they remained non-committal. After months of waffling, Bell suggested, who was the president of production, that they should work on a game starring a more recognizable character like the Joker or the Flash. They went with the Flash, but in 2023, Warner Bros. Released the Flash movie, a lavish movie starring Ezra Miller, which bombed at the box office. The video game has since been scrapped. After the past 2 years, most of Montreal's leadership has resigned, not because of the lack of new games, but also due to frustration with their corporate bosses, according to people familiar with the events. Now they're helping out on other projects such as Wonder Woman, while also working on a pitch for a new Game of Thrones. This article could have just been that. It could have just been that little segment there about going to Gotham Knights 2, cancelling a Constantine and a Flash game, pitching a Game of Thrones game, and then listening to how fed up they are of the big corporate overlord bosses. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is gross mismanagement of the highest levels at the top that is just wasting a studio that, fair enough, if Gotham Knights, like, it had some good points, it had some bad points, but they still produced Arkham Origins, which was a good game, and they were a talented studio, and you're just pissing about with him. And this is, you boil that with Wonder Woman being cancelled, Wonder Woman being rebooted, an Arkham game being years away. WB Montreal not even now working on a DC game, potentially pitching a Game of Thrones, but having dust about on one for years. And it's just, and that's why they've now got a barren slate of releases, you know?
Bro, like me, Skadoosh, Alex podcast now, we talked about the Insomniac games. You take the developers, the development team, the constructive team, whatever you guys want to call it, and for like Marvel's Wolverine, you pull developers once Marvel Spider-Man 2 is done to start working on Marvel's Wolverine. Like you slowly pull certain people from that team and bring them on to the next team. Like it's not the fact that it's hard to do, it's more so of a I'm not going to listen, I don't care kind of mentality that WB has. And it's been going on like this since 2015.
I want to read the paragraphs that is in Jason's article about the Wonder Woman game. So they say that in 2021 they cancelled a previous game, and then most of the head of Monolith and most of the directors quit and started the new studio. The remaining staff then pivoted to a game based on the Wonder Woman comic books. It has now been more than 7 years since the studio's last game, and the initial version of Wonder Woman tried to reimagine the Nemesis system with the game's namesake heroine befriending enemies. But the idea has since been tossed out in favour of a more traditional action-adventure game. Now, Wonder Woman's fate remains in question, according to people familiar with the business, because of challenges following the changes in Monolith's leadership and issues surrounding the game's technology.
Superman, The Flash, how would you implement them in the video game, bro?
I'm with you. Yeah.
Especially Superman, bro. Like I understand you can make it possible that enemies have kryptonite, so when they hit him, he might feel the pain. But if I'm getting knocked out by some pedestrian in a Superman game, I'm gonna be like, bro,
it's not even just
this is the Superman we're talking about,
yeah,
bro. Your hand should be, your fist should be, your fist should be broken by now.
It's not even just that though. It's not just the enemy types. It's the traversal. He is meant to literally be the speed of light. He is. If you were being realistic for a suit, he should be able to fly through a building. You know. And people are like, just make a Superman game. I'm serious when I say that Superman games are one of the hardest video games that you can possibly make. It's one of the most ambitious video games to make.
Probably Flash too. Like, how fast would you make him? I agree. Make us feel like he's fast.
Well, I remember when did you see that like mock-up of a Flash game where someone like runs through the entire planet in like 5 seconds? Have you?
I don't see this.
Check this. Watch this. Tell me this doesn't like absolute crap, man. I would not want to play this game.
It's definitely a mod. Who made this?
I don't know. I just remember doing the rounds on Twitter, and I was just like, "This looks ass."
He looks bulky as hell too, like real stiff. Like
it's not this. Watch this now. Like, how is this fun? Like, tell me what what is fun about that? Like, apart when you've done that once, tell me what is fun about that after it. You know.
I'm saying, how would you make him the move system, the combat like? That's why I think when it comes to games for DC, it's a bit too hard to make them happen. Apart from like, Batman, you could probably make Suicide Squad. That's where they dropped the ball. Suicide Squad, the right one, because they're pretty grounded.
They could have
made it totally different, but they dropped the ball there. They dropped the ball on Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I guess probably I got a good segue into the next conversation. Then is the next couple of years, because, and I think a good comparison point is obviously Marvel. And I think fair of us all in this chat want both sides to succeed, in that we want Marvel and DC both producing massive hits, right? Because we as the fans win then. Like when only one of them, you know? Yeah, exactly. If it's just Marvel, like you want to see it all. And with this news, with WB Games Montreal,
what is this?
Yeah, it looks terrible, right? It looks absolutely terrible. I remember people glazing it online, and I was like, "No, this looks dreadful. What are you on about?"
What is this, bro? Come on.
So with Wonder Woman, basically, let's put our like speculation hats on. Wonder Woman's going to be 2028. The next Batman game will be 2029 at the earliest, probably 2030. WB said last year that they're going to start to license out their IPs in the same way that Marvel do, but they only said that last year, which means again, if a video game started in development last year, we're talking 2028, 2029. Again, we're talking the future of Batman. The question I want to ask you first is, new Batman game, do we think it's a new Batman Arkham game in particular? Or do we think that it's just a new Batman game in a different universe in the same way they did it with Gotham Knights. Like they're going to go with a fresh start. Because obviously we've lost Kevin Conroy, who was the older Batman in that universe. Where did they take it from here?
Exactly what Kevin Conroy had left in the chamber before he passed away. We do know people were thinking that Suicide Squad Killer Justice League was his last voice representation of the Batman character, right? But then he came out with Cape Crusader, which was like a month after all of it was said and done, and he voice acted Batman in that, I'm pretty sure, right?
That was a different voice actor, but he did have a performance in the animated movie Infinite Crisis.
Infinite Crisis, that's what I'm talking. Yeah, Infinite Crisis. He had a voice line in that where he was fighting a Joker before the worlds collided or whatever it did in that. And it's literally like we don't know what he has left. Now, what I think is, right, we do know Batman Arkham Origins. We had a different voice actor for that. I can't remember his name.
It was Roger Craig Smith.
Yeah, Roger Craig Smith, who was in Batman Arkham Shadows as well. So we do know it's possible for another voice actor to portray the character. And even then, if we're going to go back to Telltale Games, what was the guy that did his voice too? I can't remember, but I know who it is. He voice acted the Jason Todd in Arkham Knight. So
okay.
I can't remember his name. Troy Baker.
Yeah,
we had Troy Baker in the Telltale Games. We had Roger Craig Smith, Arkham Origins, Arkham Shadows, which is a pre-sequel to leading up to the events of Arkham Asylum. So we know it's possible to have fairly good Batman voice actors. But it's like he said, since the Parish or Peril or whatever you guys want to call it, since his death, we don't know what's going to happen next. So could we get extra Kevin Conroy in the new Batman game, which I don't think is possible at all. I don't see that happening. I think they're going to either reprise Roger Craig Smith, Troy Baker. I honestly like this voice acting, very, very well done in the Telltale Games. So I think they should reprise his role in the newer Batman game, and it doesn't need to be an Arkham game. Like even like right now, right? We know that Monolith was already working on a Batman game that was canceled. We got 6-7 gameplay footage of the game that was like completely scrapped. And it was kind of gave off like that Batman Begins kind of look. It definitely was, you know what I mean? So I think it's going to be a new voice actor for the new Batman game. Definitely a new scenery. We don't need to see Arkham again at all. It needs to be legit streets of Gotham.
Not whether it's Arkham again, but is it in the Arkham franchise? Do they call it Batman Arkham, or is it just Batman?
I think they should drop the Arkham. Give it a fresh start.
Do you think they lose something from that though? Because I look at this thing as this Arkham universe, regardless of what everyone said about Suicide Squad, there was interest in it just because it was. If you just said it's a Suicide Squad game, not in the Arkhamverse, I don't think it gets any of the same attention that it would get outside of that. Personally, I think. Yeah,
but the Suicide Squad game was a flop because the game wasn't good.
It was.
If it was or it wasn't in the Arkham universe, and the game was pretty good, people play it.
True. Don't get me wrong. It didn't do well or bad because it was in the Arkhamverse. But I'm saying, with it being in the Arkhamverse, it had certain expectations, and
yeah.
The question I have is the Arkham franchise is a heavy title. You know what I mean? It is when you think of big video game iconic franchise, you do think of Batman Arkham now. It is one of the best trilogies.
It's one of the best trilogies
ever made in video games.
Even like Arkham City, like we just talked about. If you go top 10 superhero games, Arkham City is top 5, hands down. Top 10 superhero games. If we go on Forbes, right? Top 10 superhero games, Arkham City's in the top 5. Now with recent developments, the way that Insomniac's been killing it, they're gonna add in 2018 Marvel Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2. They're gonna add in, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City. If we're going based off single players, though, Arkham City's top 5.
It's my favorite game ever made, so I can't really say anything.
All time.
It's a video game that meant everything, that made me look at video games in a different way. From
Your
the
best
Easter
game
eggs,
of all time.
Yeah, honestly,
That's a big statement, bro.
So
I think they have 2 options. I think
make a remake.
I think they have 3 options actually, and the remake is actually a conversation we'll have a bit later in terms of what WB should do in this period of no games, because that's something that I think is a good option for them, especially around Arkham Origins. But I think they have 3 options. Number 1 is just a new Batman game. just in a completely different universe, in the same way they did with Gotham Knights, just brand new Batman game, fresh start, fresh voice actor, whatever it is. Number 2 is they carry on from the story of Suicide Squad, and I've kind of alluded to this in the past in previous videos where I've said they have a carry on just after Suicide Squad, and Batman's got to win back the trust of the Bat family. You bring the Court of Owls in a different way than they did with Gotham Knights, and they actually have like a grip of Gotham, and Batman's got to wrestle back Gotham. And then you do something like you put Hush in there, you have him destroy Bruce's like legacy, and now everyone knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. You're giving a different kind of story there from what we've had in previous Batman games, where you're seeing Bruce's life, where in the Batman games you've seen just the Batman. Or you do option 3 and you just go Batman Beyond. You move
Batman
way into
Beyond.
the future, and then that way you don't need Kevin Conroy as much, but you're keeping the Arkham legacy. But you're moving past Suicide Squad. Everyone's forgotten about Suicide Squad. You can just move on from that, and you've got Batman Beyond. You got a fresh start, but that Arkham iconic name is still there, and it means something. So you've got that immediate value. You know what I'm saying? So I think if I was a betting man, which I am to be fair, I would guess they're going to do a sequel to Suicide. I think they will follow up from Suicide Squad. Personally, okay. Let me ask you this then, as a way to cap this off.
Yeah,
You're given three games to license. You're given 3 WB IPs. So we don't have to be DC, just WB in general. What games are you like? What IP are you licensing out, and who are you licensing them out to?
I give Batman to Insomniac Games because I like the way that they had the implementation. You can tell that they took inspiration from like the weapon wheel from Batman Arkham Knight. I would give Batman to Insomniac. I would give Green Lantern to EA.
I would go. It's kind of cheating because it's kind of already happening, but I would have Deathstroke go to Arcane, who do the Dishonored games, who are now making Marvel's Blade.
Oh, Arcane. Yeah, I forgot about Arcane.
I would have
Arcane Studios.
the team behind Diablo make a Justice League styled game, like a action RPG face down. So I would have it like Diablo, but like
the camera from the top.
like basically like what Ultimate Alliance games used to be, but for the Justice League. I don't know if you ever played Justice League Heroes. It was on PS2, but it was a bit like that.
Yeah, I played that shit.
Because that's the only way I think a Justice League game works. I don't see a third person. It's too bit. You could, in the way we had Marvel's Avengers having like Iron Man, like there's a grounded nature to all of them. The Justice League, a guy can summon constructs from his imagination. Another one can fly to the sun in the blink of an eye. Another one has got batarangs. Like you can't match them to the same power set. So I think the only way that ever works is like from a top-down nature. Third game.
It's kind of hard.
That's where I start to struggle.
Aquaman game that would actually be pretty
Green
good.
Lantern.
I would give Green Lantern to EA and give Batman to Insomniac Games. I would do that.
Green Lantern game.
I think EA could make a good Green Lantern. If they do good with this Iron Man game, they can make a Green Lantern. Well,
yeah.
Thanks everybody for tuning in, man. We're gonna end this live stream. If you guys are hopping on Marvel Rivals, I'm down to play right now.
Probably for 1 game or 2, you know.
I've got 2 games in me, and then I'll bounce.
All right, let's get it, boys. Let's get it. All right. Thanks for jumping in, Matt. Skadoosh as always. You know, thanks for having you too.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
No problem.